So Cleveland, Ohio was just considered the second hottest real estate market for 2023 in the United States by Zillow. Now, I don't know how much I agree with that. There are a lot of other markets, especially in those southern states like Florida and Texas and South Carolina, but it was nice of Zillow to consider us, and I thought it was really interesting. So I wanted to share what's going on with the real estate market this year, what we're seeing right now in the spring, and what we're going to see coming up in the summer. So kids are going to be getting out of school pretty soon. The real estate market is heating up. Buyers and sellers are back for the spring. So are we going to see another really crazy year like we had last year, 2021, 2022, or are we headed for a bit of a crash or at least a decline? So if you guys watch the news or you do any Googling of the real estate market at all, you're going to see different headlines that are all over the place. The first one, I think, really sums it up well. Fortune says that things are getting really weird in the real estate market. According to Realtor.com, they're asking if we're going to head into a 2006 all over again. Everyone is fighting over crumbs. Apparently the New Jersey housing market is doing really well. I thought this was really funny. Millennials are fueling a generational housing bubble. Let's just blame it on millennials. That could actually be true. The majority of houses are purchased by millennials these days. U.S. home prices rise slightly, ending 7 straight months of declines. The next article is home prices see the biggest annual drop in over a decade. So what the heck is going on? So we're going to go over some of the market data, and I want to start on a national level and see what's going on all over the country. And then we're going to jump into the Ohio state level and then get a little bit more local to Northeast Ohio. And I also want to talk about what we're seeing on a day-to-day basis as real estate agents, what's selling and what's not. If you're buyers, what kind of competition are you looking at for this spring and summer? And if you're sellers, what do you need to do with your property to get the most money out of your house if you're thinking of selling? So you can see that nationally the market is kind of all over the place, but what I really like to look at is the kind of the gold standard is the CaseShiller Index, and this really shows the condition of the real estate market for single family houses. If we look at Mortgage News Daily, they say that despite a median forecast calling for a drop of 0.4%, there was a modest increase of 0.1%. That seems very small, but at least it's increasing instead of declining. And if you look at the actual chart for the CaseShiller Index, you'll see this giant increase here in 2022, at the beginning of 2022, and then there is a giant decrease from about May, June, all the way into the end of the year, into December and January. The reason that happened was because interest rates started climbing dramatically. And so that's why you're seeing all these news articles about sales dropping 20 and 25, 30%, and even prices dropping in a lot of markets that still haven't recovered. So last year in January and February, I think interest rates were probably around 3%. I know some people that even got mortgages at 2 and 2.5%, which is basically free money. And then interest rates started climbing a lot. And that's what stopped a lot of buyers. They didn't want to pay those doubled interest rates, and they got scared that they were going to continue to go up, so they really kind of backed out of the market. Sellers also really didn't have anywhere to go either because inventory was already low, and if mortgage rates went up and they already had a loan on their current house for 3%, why would they go buy something else at 7%? Even if you made a lateral move to the same exact size house, you're paying so much more, even hundreds of dollars per month more, just because your mortgage interest went up over double. So buyers were not buying last year and sellers were not selling. Fortunately, that is turning around a little bit. So on a national level, you can still see that the market is starting to pick up for the spring, but the National Association of Realtors says that existing home sales slid 2.5% in March, and they are still down over 20% year over year compared to last March. They did say that inventory was up 1%, which really doesn't help much, but no, even with these huge sales drops and prices going down a little bit, this article also says that multiple offers were still happening on about a third of houses, and 28% of inventory was selling over asking price. So even though sales were dropping, there's still a lot of competition, multiple offers selling over asking price out in the market. So that's kind of what's going on a national level. Let's talk about Ohio because that's really what we care about on this channel. Ohio does have a little bit more inventory for the spring. It's still not at all what we were looking at for inventory last year. For March, sales are only down in Ohio by about 8%. Now, if we look back to February, sales were down almost 25%. They were really close to that national average, which is good. It means more buyers are coming back into the market. And after we saw that peak of those interest rates up to 7.5% and it started coming back down a little bit, a lot of people started looking again. People that were just starting to get into the market to look for buying a house didn't know that we had 3% interest rates a year ago, and so kind of normal to them is 5-6%, or even that 7%. People that were used to the 7%, once it drops down to 6%, are a little bit more encouraged to go start looking for houses. So there are a lot more buyers coming into the market, generally in Ohio. Now, through all of that, even the low inventory and the huge drop in sales, Ohio still saw a 2.5% increase in sales price to average about $250,000. That was not true in every state, as you can see by some of those articles. Some states had 5% drop in sales price, but Ohio, the prices just keep going up. So it really depends on where you are in the country and even where you are in Ohio. So let's look at Northeast Ohio, our MLS system, which encompasses 32 counties. So stick with me. I know these numbers are really hard to keep track of here. And we'll jump into just Northeast Ohio, Cleveland area in a minute. But the MLS released their statistics for March, and new listings, this is what's kind of scary, is that new listings for March of this year compared to last year are down 15% in our MLS. It's not current inventory that's on the market, that's people that are starting to list their houses and looking to sell in the spring. So if we're seeing more buyers in the market, but we're seeing less listings in the market, we're heading back into that crazy multiple offer situation like we had last year. Closed sales in the MLS is down 7.4%. Days on market until sale, this was kind of interesting. Houses are spending a little bit more time on the market. It's up almost 20%. Median sales price is up 2.9%, average sales price up 2.9%. Housing affordability, down 20%. Everything's getting really expensive. What I think is interesting and what I like to look at a lot is the percent of list price received. So if you list your house at $500,000 and you get 100% of your list price, you sold it for $500,000. And last year, in March of last year, we were seeing 100.1% of list price received. This year, it's 97.8% list price received, which is great news for buyers. There still are multiple offers on houses and they still are going over list price, but on average, the list price received is about 97%. And that does go up when we head more into the spring. The winter months are always 98, 95, 98% list price received, and then you head into April, May, June, and those are typically 100 to 102% list price received. So if you want the most money out of your house and you're selling, list your house in March, April, May, you're gonna get the most money for your house. So if we get even more local, this is our Tri-County overview. This includes Cuyahoga, Portage, and Summit counties. And they say that new listings are down about 15% like they are in the whole MLS. Pending sales, closed sales, this is more Northeast Ohio, are down only 5%. The average sales price is up 1.3%. Month supply of inventory from last month is up about 10%, which is good, but that's just comparing March to February. That's not comparing March of this year to last year. So that was a lot of numbers, a lot of percentages there. And if you guys are really numbers people and you can keep up with all that, thank you for sticking around. But we're going to talk about what all this actually means if you're a buyer or seller, if you're thinking about moving in this market. What are we seeing as real estate agents every day in this crazy market? So I work all over the east side. I don't do too much on the west side. Sometimes Cleveland, a lot of Parma, Shaker, Aurora, of course the Chagrin Valley. And what we see in our office in Chagrin Falls specifically, I've noticed a lot more emails lately of new listings picking up. Before, in February and January, we'd probably get 1 or 2 a week. Now we probably have 3 or 4 new listings from different offices and our office specifically, which is good news. There's more coming up on the market. We still have a lot of agents in my office that are begging for houses for their buyers. Most of the agents in my office have probably 5 buyers to every listing that we have right now. There's just such low inventory and not a lot of houses in the market that buyers are still really competing. Now, it's not like last year where we had 30 to 50 offers on every property, but I did hear of an agent in our office who experienced 34 offers on a house in Medina, so that was a little bit crazy. We do have multiple offers on properties, 3, 5, 10 on some. A lot of them are going over asking price. Open houses are still pretty packed. There's probably 20 to 50 people at open houses. It just depends on what house, the quality, and the location. Good news for buyers is that a lot of inspections are coming back. It's not like last year where buyers were just waiving inspections all over the place and cash offers were beating everything out. There still are a lot of cash offers, but I do see a lot of offers getting accepted with loans. It's good news, especially if you're FHA or VA. Those were really hard to get through last year with the conventional and the cash competition. So it's not super crazy like last year. Buyers are smarter and they are a little bit slower to act now because of those interest rates. They're thinking more about what kind of house they want. Unfortunately, for buyers, the prices still go up and the interest rates are still kind of going up. And even though 2.5% may not seem a lot, once you add that interest rate in there, it's a huge difference compared to last year. So let me break this down really quick for you. If you guys are looking at buying, let's say, a $500,000 house last year at a 3% interest rate, your payment, this is just mortgagecalculator.org. Anybody can go on this. I'm not a lender. This is just a very general average price. So you're looking at about $2,200, $2,300 a month for that mortgage. Now, if we double that, if we add 2.5%, which is about 12 grand on a $500,000 house, and double the interest rate to 7%, that's $3,300 a month. That's $1,000 more a month that you're paying for the same exact house just 1 year later. If we go to a little bit more affordable of a price range, there isn't so much of a change. If you're looking at a $200,000 house last year, the price is going to increase 2.5%, was at $5,000. Your interest rate goes up to 6 or 7. That's another probably $500 a month. So it is a big difference in that payment for the same exact size of house. And prices have not gone down enough to be able to make up for those interest rates. Now for sellers, you saw that inventory was pretty low and it's still dropping. That means that if you listed your house, you're probably going to have multiple offers. You could go over asking price. What I see selling now are those really pretty houses, the completely remodeled, move-in ready. A lot of ranch houses and anything with a first floor master is gone with multiple offers. Those are really hard to keep on the market, which is great if you have one of them. But the challenge is, where are you going to go with inventory so low? People don't have anywhere to move. So I've seen a couple in the past week that have said house sale contingent on seller finding a house, and who knows how long that could be. But a lot of sellers just don't have anywhere else to buy because the market is so limited now. One thing I've seen quite a bit of a change in are those outdated properties and listings. If it needs some work and needs some TLC, it does sit on the market a little bit longer, whereas last year, even those were selling really quickly. If your house is older and needs some updating, it is still selling for a premium. It just takes a little bit longer to sell. It might sit on the market for 30, 60, maybe 90 days, which honestly is not that bad compared to 3 years ago. That was about the average time. But compared to 3 days, it does feel like forever. So if you do have a house that you're trying to sell and it does need some updates, you might have to do some painting, some updating, give some sellers concessions for those buyers or incentives to bring more buyers in. Now, a lot of this does depend on the price point as well. For example, in Chagrin Falls, the average price is about $450,000. So anything between $300,000 and $500,000 sells pretty quickly. Anything over $1 million is usually a little bit slower. One of my agents in my office did sell a $1.6 million house in a day though, so that was a little bit crazy. But generally, most interest is between that $300,000 and $500,000 range in Chagrin Falls. So that's what's going on nationally with real estate and in Northeast Ohio. If you guys want more specific numbers for your zip code, or you want to know what your house is worth, give me a call, text, or email anytime, or just put a comment below. And I know that was a lot of numbers and a lot of information, but I think this summer is going to be kind of interesting for real estate. We're still going to have that competition, but it is a lot slower than it was last year. So I hope this was helpful for you guys, and thanks again for watching.